It's a big drive energy, wacky Wednesday. We're still humming off the win. Ludwig Aubert plus 2,200 this past weekend at Torrey Pines. Also hitting Tony Finau plus 285. But Joaquin Niemann won LIV Adelaide, which is widely considered one of the best, if not the best, LIV golf tournament out there. Did a shoey afterwards. We're going to talk about that. We've also got a Sunday Red athlete finally that they played up for a long time, and then it came out and it was like, oh, yeehaw. We've also got WTF Wednesday and going to talk about golf bag brands. Is it chill to have a golf bag that you don't have any of the clubs are? All of that and more coming up right after this. Let's tee it up. Big Drive Energy Wednesday. I am at Big Drive Spence. He's at Big Drive Mitch. If you're watching this on the YouTube, give us a thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. If you're listening to this on the audio version, like our show, subscribe to our show, do whatever you got to do. We appreciate it all. How are you doing on this Wednesday? Our Sunday show was fire. I kind of miss the Sunday shows. Like, I don't like doing them in the moment. I'm like, fuck, it's Sunday afternoon. I just want to couch rot my ass and not move. But it was electric. Awesome to see Ludwig Aubert live win us a bet. We'll have our betting card from Mexico later. Pretty funny graphics. Stick around for that. But how's the start of your week going? Did you have a holiday? Did your girlfriend have a holiday? Does she not? It was nice to have like a Monday that didn't feel like a work day.
I mean, first of all, I want to talk about our Sunday show because it was electric. I enjoyed it. But the funny thing is the Sunday shows are always your idea. And then you're always the one that's like, I got to be quiet. Like my son's sleeping like this and that. And I'm like, why are we doing it then? If you're the one who can't do it and it's your idea, then we like, what the fuck's going on here? So that is one bugaboo I have with you. Add it to the list.
I don't believe I did that once this past Sunday though.
No, you can tell though you're trying to be quiet. I hear Sawyer just fucking off in the background, which is totally fine. You have a kid and you're at home. Like I get it. But it seems like you're not in the most like ideal podcasting situation. And you're like, let's do it here. Like, and then you just have all the shit going on. But you got to do what you got to do. You're just kind of out in the wild. You're vibing. So I respect it. But Mondays, well, this past Monday, Missy did not have off. She gets no like government holidays, which is just unfortunate. And realistically, like we never really have either, in my opinion. Unless you work for the government or, schools or whatever, like you don't necessarily get the day off. So I've never really considered that a day off. I know your wife being a teacher had the day off. So, and you can kind of, your schedule is relatively flexible. So you can take, relatively speaking, whatever day off you would like, as long as you get whatever work done needs to be done. So, yeah, I mean, just a normal Monday, normal Tuesday, been teaching, been going to the gym. I do have my What the Fuck Wednesday from the gym, which it just always feels like it's something, but I have a bone to pick with a certain group of dudes at the gym. So, yeah, other than that, I made a batch of chicken salad yesterday. That's just fucking gas. My chicken salad is so dialed. Put a little bit of dill in there, a little bit of tarragon, some celery, some onions, and grapes. Grapes and chicken salad is like puts it over the top for me. How do you feel about grapes and chicken salad? Let's just get right back into. I didn't have a sandwich for the record, no bread. And here's a two-part question. If I eat chicken salad with crackers, is that considered a carb? I know it's a carb, but like you're not having a sandwich. So I still feel like it's better than eating just two pieces of white bread. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's semantics, really. That's just the beauty is in the eye of the beholder with the bread scenario, because I'm sure a cracker's just as bad. But if you only have like 6 to 8 crackers, is that worth one piece of bread, maybe two? I think it's semantics there. It's still
It's a
definitely a
dozen
carb.
plus
It's not.
crackers. It's definitely not I'm not counting crackers and being like, this is my allotted amount. Like, and I will say that the Whole Foods water crackers, are they water crackers or I think they're
Yeah,
called
I
water.
still have them in my pantry from when you came to my
Bro,
house.
they're all-time good crackers. So you just gotta bust those out. I go through cracker phases where I'm big in the Triscuits. I got into wheat thins, and then now I kind of rotate with the club crackers, the water crackers. I'm just a big cheese and cracker guy. Like that is literally my go-to snack. And it's probably not the best thing in the world, but it's not the worst thing either. Like horseradish cheese, a little salami. I just bought a kielbasa sausage. That shit's gas. Just a meat cheese cracker board all day. And would you consider that an unhealthy snack?
I don't think it's unhealthy, but I don't think it's like I'm eating a salad with no dressing healthy.
Yeah,
It's not
it's not
like
carrot.
I'm having a healthy snack, but you're not sitting down and having a bag of gummy bears or like Cheetos or something like that. So I think it's kind of an in between. It's a tweener for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in my eyes, and maybe I just need to take a different look at uh how I think about food, because I really don't consider fat the enemy, like in the way of butter or cheese, things like that. I consider carbs and sugar the enemy. So I figure, meat and cheese really doesn't have any carbs in it or sugar. Definitely has a high fat content, but I feel like it, and I don't really know where I got this idea, just maybe shit on the internet. Um, but it's I feel like I feel better about myself eating a meat and cheese cracker situation than sugary whatever. But honestly, like carrots and hummus is generally the go-to snack when I'm trying to like be good. But back to the chicken salad thing. What do you like, grapes and chicken salad? What do you like in chicken salad?
I think grapes and chicken salad is fine. It doesn't put it over the top for me. A good chicken salad is gas no matter what. But I grapes are kind of take it or leave it. I think it's a nice addition if you're just have some grapes, but to buy a whole bag of grapes just to put a few in the chicken salad is I'm probably out on that venture.
Well, yeah. So what I do is I kind of meal prep chicken salad. It's like I'm being super healthy, but it's chicken salad. I made like 3 chicken breasts worth of it because then Missy takes it to work a couple days of the week and then I can have it a couple days. So I made like a shitload of chicken salad. So I put like almost half a bag of grapes in it. And I just like it because I'm a big savory and sweet type of person. So it definitely offsets those two flavors, give me a little sweet crunch in there, a little pop. Um, Anywho, I have another thought real quick before we hop into some golf stuff. Just random thoughts I have throughout the day. Would you say that joggers are just rebranded sweatpants? Or like how would you differentiate a jogger from sweats? Because just to give you a little background, I have accumulated and I keep getting pins and aces like joggers, quote unquote. And some are golf joggers, some are like quilted, but they and I was the guy who was pounding the table that I hate joggers. And now I wear joggers, quote unquote joggers, almost every
No,
day.
it's
Like
not
that
it's
is
not quote unquote. It's just joggers.
well, but
Joggers.
where'd you
Okay.
draw the line between a sweatpant and a jogger?
To me, it's the material. Now, there's a lot of joggers that are basically sweatpants with the ankle tight. Like I don't think a lot of people wear sweatpants anymore that are fully just open at the bottom and don't like close your leg. Now, to me, a jogger also has a little bit longer of a cuff versus like I have a pair of sweatpants that I would not consider joggers. They're definitely sweats and they have just like they do get tighter around the ankle, but it's just one thin cuff that goes around. Like if you have like a longer cuff like on a sweatshirt at the bottom, to me that's a jogger. But joggers they're very unique in the fact that some of them can look like you're being like nice. I wore a pair of joggers to a meeting yesterday, but they were black and they were shiny a little bit. So kind of almost looked like golf pants, but were joggers. And then I have a couple pairs of joggers, like one of my pairs of Pins and Aces joggers that I absolutely love and wear 6 days a week, unless they're in the laundry for that one day. They're like the Waffle brand. And that I couldn't wear golfing in my own personal view of life. I couldn't wear them golfing. I can't wear them to anywhere that's nice, but they're comfortable and I love them. So to me, the material makes the jogger either wearable on the golf course or not wearable on the golf course. Because to me, if it's not a wearable on the golf course jogger, it's basically sweatpants.
Okay, yeah. So I would agree with that sentiment, but where I will push back is, oh, way to mute your sneeze there. Where I will push back is there's been sweatpants around as long as I've been alive and longer that have cuffed ankles. Those are sweatpants. Nobody called those joggers 30 years ago when you had sweats with a cuffed ankle. Like, that's where I think people are just rebranding. And maybe, like, if anything, joggers are a better name because it makes it sound like you're doing something athletic. Like, they're joggers, not sweatpants, which you would, associate with lounging around. But maybe I'm just so adverse to physical activity that the sound of joggers pisses me off, but sweatpants doesn't piss me off. But still, the cuffed ankle situation for me is still something that I'm just trying to get over, because if they're too tight around my ankle, and I don't have fat ankles, by the way, like I've got some pretty nice, relatively sized ankles. I don't have cankles, thank God. Got a lot of problems. Cankles ain't one of them. But when my ankles are getting cut off, like the circulation, I am out on that jogger at that point.
Yeah, I think the most annoying part for me about joggers is when I wear a pair that are maybe a hair too short, where they're just not like the hanging down over your shoe, and you sit down and they like ride up to your calf and then they're tight. I'm all the way out on that scenario.
Luckily, with my size being shaped like a rectangle, the waist that I have to buy, they're rarely too short. If anything, they go in the other direction where I got to roll those shits up. So that's not necessarily a great look either. But one of the reasons why I also wanted to talk about this is to circle back on Jason Day's outfit from a few weeks ago, the Lost Your Luggage special that was that he wore at Pebble Beach. As you recall, the grout fit. Yes. That is now on sale on their website. Not on sale, just for sale. Take a gander at what they're charging for the sweatshirt and then the sweatpants.
I'm just gonna say package deal $720.
Holy shit. Okay, that's out of the question. No, they're $148 for the pants and $148 for the sweatshirt.
Oh, that's a good deal in my mind.
Oh my God, dude.
When we talked about Malbon and a $458 sweater, that's where my mind went. I actually cut the price
that is
down
literally a Costco fucking crew neck. There's nothing special about the material. It's got a tiny little M on it. That is the biggest crock of shit. I don't know. You got to draw the line somewhere. When I saw $150 per sweatpants / crew neck, I got irrationally angry. And I guess we really didn't talk about Jason Day's sweater this last week in that cardigan. What do you think of that?
I thought it was fine. I don't really want to talk about the 75th best golfer on the PGA Tour's fucking outfit every week. So not saying we don't have to. I'm just saying, like, I don't pay any mind to him anymore. Win a fucking golf tournament and then I'll check your outfit out, or even top 10 something.
Have you ever you haven't watched Mad Men, all-time show, if you haven't seen it, but there's a clip where one of John Hamm's employees goes, "I feel bad for you." And John Hamm looks at him and goes, "I don't even think about you." Like, talk about a bigger, like the biggest fucking knock you could tell somebody. Like, why? I don't even fucking consider thinking about you. That's just an all-timer. But yeah, I mean, it's fair. I just know that he's making some splashes within the clothing industry. So it's always kind of a hot topic.
I'll say this. and whether this is fair or not too is probably out of the question. I'm not like a wear expensive clothes type of guy. But if I have a pair of joggers that are Lululemon and then a pair of joggers that are Target brand, could be the same exact material and basically look the exact same, I won't wear the Target ones to the golf course, but I will wear the Lulu ones to the golf course. Like, to me, when it's just a nicer brand, I just feel like it's a nicer piece of clothing. And there's got to be some sort of psychological term for that. But there is something to the more expensive joggers or some clothes that just fit better or way more comfortable than clothes that are cheaper. But at the same time, one of my most fire hoodies that I own that I got like 10 compliments on the first time I wore it, which is weird. It's like, it's normally a girl thing to like, oh, I love your shirt, to each other. I don't think and I appreciate compliments when somebody has something that's sick or I'm wearing something that's cool and they're like, say something to me, but I would never look at another dude in the face and be like, yo, that is sick. Like, if I don't know you, like, I would never do that.
I would. What's your deal?
Not for me.
It's 2025, bro. Dudes can't compliment dudes.
No, I'm not saying that dudes can't compliment dudes. I just never look at someone and think, wow, that's a fucking sick shirt or that's a sick hat. Like, I got told my Pins and Aces hat, by the way, the one that you're wearing with the spade on the front. I was driving through the Arby's drive-through and the guy was like, that's a fucking sick hat, bro. I was like, thanks. But I just thought to myself, like, I would never say that to someone. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a dickhead, but unless it's like off the charts, like a one of one piece, I would say that to someone. But just a random nice hoodie, I got like 10 compliments on from Target. And I was like, fuck, this is kind of cool. But I'm never gassing someone else up.
No, I think you are a bit of a dickhead. Like, you're not necessarily. See, I'm more of a rising tide lifts all ships type of person. I think you're like, I would clearly like to be better than that person. And maybe I'm tooting my own horn here, but I don't, and I could be wrong. So I'm pretty judgmental as well. If you know me, like, not irrationally, but I judge myself just as much. So it's all fair in love and war. But I'm also of the mindset, like, I don't need to tear somebody down to lift myself up. But I feel like some people are like that, where they're like, oh, they look like shit. They look like shit. And I'm like, dude, I can look cool and you can look cool too. You know what I mean? So not necessarily tearing them down, but I have no problem complimenting somebody if they look cool. And dude, how many times, like you just said, how many times have you gotten one little compliment and makes your entire day? And it probably meant nothing to that person. And you come away from it being like, holy shit, dude, that was great. Like, you put your head down on the pillow at night being like, damn, I got a compliment today. And I almost take it as like more of a compliment from a dude than a girl. You know what I mean? Like, random girls don't say anything, but if a random dude says something to me, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, that really like gets you stoked. So
just like guys being dudes, you're like, oh, I threw out a fit today. This guy's fucking appreciating that. And I do appreciate when people say it. I don't know. For some reason, I just can't say it to someone, because then I just think, what if they're just like looking back at me like, what a fucking douchebag? Like, that's weird. Why would you comment on my outfit?
I think that if you can't take a compliment on your outfit from another dude, then you're clearly a douchebag. What is that term nowadays for when you have a fire outfit? Because I saw somebody tweet about Mr. Milchick in Severance, and they're like, he threw down on this fit, or is
it Skibbity Toilet?
I have never heard that before, and maybe you're getting into some elementary school fucking vocabulary now that Kylie's bringing it home with her. But no, I've literally never heard of Skibbity Toilet. That's actually what you just said?
Yeah, let me look this up. I guess it's a thing. Oh, it's a show. Skibbity Toilet. It's a show. A dystopian series of fast-paced YouTube videos and shorts produced in a machinima style. Storytelling style using 3D computer graphics, often favored by video games. Yeah, apparently it's a thing. It was like Mike Malone, the Nuggets coach, had his daughter had him say that, and it was fucking hilarious. But yeah, it's the vernacular nowadays. I thought it was bad when we were coaching the high school team and all those kids were saying sus and things like that. And now I'm like, I'm worried for what my son's going to say when he's like 5 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it may as well be a different language because some of the words that they say, like, what's the whole like low taper fade thing? Have you heard anything about that?
I've heard it, but not a clue what it fucking means.
Like, I don't know what's up with elementary school kids saying that.
Kylie's kids say that, yeah. Low tapered fade. She's like cut that word out of her kids' vocabulary. Also, calling someone that's bigger a big back is fucking hilarious. I call my son that all the time now.
That is like, pretty fucking big good.
Back? Like, let me fucking put you on this changing table, and then I pick him up. I'm like, Jesus, you're a big back. I don't even know if I'm using it properly. If it's you're a big back or you've got a big back, but yeah, that's a thing too now.
I'm definitely a big back. I've got a lot. I've got a very fucking vast landscape.
Your back is area. Like, it's just speaking on your back specifically in the moment it's like huge. It's like Alaska. It's like a big surface area.
It's got its own ecosystem.
You're just a broad man, and
there's
just,
an ocean on one side of it. There's mountains in the middle. There's fucking an ocean on the other. It's basically America. Yeah.
I actually let's get to that really quick. We'll continue this just random talk.
Michael Kim's tweet.
Yes, Michael Kim's tweet was incredible. So if you guys didn't see this, Michael Kim playing some good golf too, by the way. He's one of the favorites this week in Mexico. But Michael Kim playing some good golf along with his great Twitter account. So he tweeted out a story from this weekend at Torrey Pines. And it was basically one of the players was in the bathroom. Dude, I can't like correctly like look through our texts and not like smirk about the stupid shit we send each other. So this is a story from Michael Kim. Aaron Fleener, who is the caddy of JT Poston, I believe.
The Postman?
Yeah, I think Aaron Fleener is the guy we're going to try to have on the podcast that I met at the BMW, a friend of a friend of a friend, actually. But a player is playing the fourth hole at the Farmers and hit it left into the hazard. On the next hole, while the player's in the bathroom, his caddy pulls out his phone, shows the rest of the group of the entire United States, and says he had the entire United States to the right, and my guy hits it in the Pacific Ocean. Like, when you think about it that way, it's an all-time funny golf moment. And just the caddy shitting on, like, that's a very me move. I would do that to you. And granted, the guy was in the bathroom, and you have to have that relationship with your caddy where you can kind of joke around. And if you're playing bad all week and it's the caddy's piling on, it may piss some people off. But if you've got a caddy for 5 or 10 years, you guys are pretty close friends and you're with each other borderline every weekend. Like, I feel like you can say jokes like that, and it's more funny than sometimes, because sometimes it lands and makes the player relax a little bit when they hear a joke about their swing or where they just hit it, or you say something off color about how they're hitting it. Something like that can make a player feel better, but it can also, I know professional athletes' mindsets and some of that shit, they could just go haywire off.
Super fragile. There's definitely guys on tour that I think that joke would land with, and they don't take themselves too seriously. Off the top of my head, 2 dudes that I think would take it very seriously and get pretty pissed off or butthurt. Davis Thompson gives me those vibes. He's just got, and I read a story that he wasn't the nicest dude in the world to play with, maybe through Monday Q Info or something like that. I guess he's kind of a douchebag. And then you look at him and you think he looks like a douche, and you definitely can kind of verify in your head just by watching his mannerisms. And very talented golfer, don't get me wrong, but definitely doesn't seem like a guy I would want to hang out with and have a beer with. And then Kevin Doherty, remember I played a practice round with him over a decade ago at a mini tour event in Arizona, and one of the biggest douchebags I've ever met. Like, I'm just going to be real honest. There's no mincing words. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, he's a nice guy. No, he sucked. Like, he was such a absolute fucking turd. He made it on the PGA Tour last year, already got demoted. He's on the Corn Ferry. A million times the golfer I probably will ever be. So there's nothing against his golf game. Just when people say better human than golfer, he's a much better golfer. Like, let's put it that way. One other personal note before, and this is golf related, but I haven't said anything about my putter situation on the podcast. Have I? I
don't think so.
Okay, so
putter update.
Yes.
Putter update from Mitchell Smith.
Should I go do a little show and tell? Should I go get it real quick?
Yeah, maybe get it, and I'll filibuster while you're going.
Yeah, it takes like it's like 5 seconds.
I know. What's that sweat stain on the back of your chair? That's kind of gross. Anyways, we'll move on past that. If you're watching on the YouTube, you're getting a great view of Mitchell's chair right now, which has some sort of odd stain on the back. I will talk about his putter, though, because I know he got a new putter. And one of my friends, RK, who I play a fair amount of golf with, is talking about getting a new putter. And he's one of these lunatics that has had the same putter since he's like in high school. Yeah, what is that?
This is a sticker, dumbass.
Oh, okay.
Can't you see the words on it? It's not a sweat stain.
No, it looks like a sweat stain. Looks like your back sweating.
You dipshit.
But on with my story, he was talking about potentially switching his putter this year. He's getting a lot of all new clubs, or trying to get all new clubs. And he's like, I'm switching everything but the putter. And then he's like, well, I may switch to this Jailbird. And it's just becoming such a popular thing, the Jailbird in general. But a guy that like him, who's had the same Scotty Cameron since I think he's been in high school, you switching to this said putter that you're about to show and tell on the YouTube is, I told him, I was like, if Mitchell's switching to this putter, it's means something. Like you've had quite a few putters back in the day, but I feel like since you've became a full grown adult, like 22, 23, you've pretty much stuck with one or two flat sticks and been like pretty adamant about sticking with it. And I can't even imagine that. I almost don't want to stick with a putter for 18 entire holes consecutively. So I can't relate to that, but knowing you and how meticulous you are about your golf clubs in general, you switching putters was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I definitely felt like it was time for a move. And in all honesty, I've already considered going back to my old putter just because I'm so familiar with it and there's just some sort of vibe about it. I will say my last putter was super light. I actually took the weights out of the bottom of it and it was already relatively light. It was a fastback, but I've always been an Odyssey guy, always will be an Odyssey guy. Yeah, we could start calling those big backs. No, the Jailbird is a big back for sure. It's the biggest putter. Actually, I take that back. I putted with the TaylorMade Spider when I was in high school. That shit was gas, belly putter. Just shove that thing right in my belly button, make everything I look at. But since they outlawed that, I wouldn't say I'm a bad putter, but I would say my putting has definitely, in my personal opinion, not statistically or anything, it just feels like it's gotten worse. So I decided to buy a different putter. Hadn't done it in years. So I bought the Jailbird, but oddly enough, so I got the 38-inch. It was a little too long, a little too upright. So I cut it down an inch. I fucking stood on the toe of it and basically bent the shaft down. So a little self-bending, which everybody knows I've got plenty of weight to handle that. I got plenty of pull. But then I got this grip that's very odd, which I had not seen yet. And I was like, fuck it, I'll give it a shot. So this is the face of the club right here. So the grip is purposely goes on like sideways.
Oh, I've seen people do this. I haven't seen like an actual grip like that, or like a grip that's meant to be that way. But there has been a few people that I've played with in the past where I'm like, dude, did you just have a problem taping it up? Like it's sideways, and then it's actually perfectly sideways to where the flat part of the putter grip was in the front of the club.
Speaking of which, didn't Will Young have that same thing?
I don't remember.
We were in Wisconsin. Yeah, we'll have to ask him. But yeah, so this is the front of the putter. This is the side of the putter. And then this is the back of it. So it definitely, the idea is, so my right hand, well, this is just fucked now. But my right hand goes on the top. It's basically if you're left hand low, like I couldn't really see you doing it if you were traditional putter grip. But now, and this thing's just flatter than shit. Like it is very flat now, which not quite Sean Fisher flat like we used to see back in the day, but it's pretty damn flat, and I am starting to vibe with it. So now I feel like I'm back on track a little bit with the flat stick, and I've got a 10-foot putting mat right in between, like basically in our living room between our couch and our kitchen table, and my girlfriend just loves that. She she couldn't think of a better decoration for the house than just a big ass 10-foot putting mat in the middle of our living space. But I don't care. I've been, and do you know what's the best thing ever is just I'll wake up in the morning, I'll walk out to like get a cup of coffee, walk by the putting green, just grab a few balls, roll a few, come back to it. I probably hit like 40 to 50 putts throughout the day in 3 to 6 increments. Just fucking. And in all honesty, I feel like that's kind of what you need to do to, especially for me, at least with a new putter, to really get like a vibe for it.
Yeah, you need to get comfortable with it. Now, I never care about sleeping over with a putter too many times. It's a one and done. It's like a smash then pass scenario for me every time. So I have stuck with currently I got the Spider, played a couple rounds with it, mostly just because I keep forgetting to take it out of my bag. But the new putter in the bag jump for me is so addicting that it makes me want to do it almost every round. And as long as I get a good chance to hit 5 to 6 putts before the round starts, I feel pretty confident with a putter because my level of expectation is so low that confidence doesn't have to go very high to meet it. Like I'm going to 3-putt a couple times. I'm going to miss quite a few 6 to 8 footers. It's just how it's going to be. So I feel like I've practiced. I have actually 2 of those putting mats, one in my kind of closet room area. And I feel like I've practiced my putting and I really do try to work on it. But I feel like when I putt on one of those putting mats where the lines are perfect, maybe it's just because I haven't worked actually hard enough on it. But I feel like those are easy. And I feel like I make a lot of those. And then I get out on the golf course and I can't make an 8-footer that's straight to save my life. So I feel like it's a training aid that I need to use more apparently to create some muscle memory in a straight 8-footer. But I feel like hitting putts on the putting mat continuously on an 8-footer or 10-footer, whatever it ends up being, where it's dead straight and there's lines under my ball and there's a line all the way to the hole, makes it too easy for me to like think that it's not helping because I'm like, yeah, I've just made 10 in a row. That's great. I'm done. And it maybe is creating the muscle memory that I need, but I can't seem to dial it in enough and I get bored doing that. I'm like, oh, I just make everything. It's great. And then I'm going to get on the course and make nothing.
Yeah, you're very much like, especially on the chipping green, I've ripped you for your lack of chipping practice before, but you're the type of dude that gets on the chipping green, hits like 2 good chips, and you're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, that's not really the fucking point. Like when an NBA player practices free throws, you think they make 2 of them and they're like, yeah, I'm fine now, and just quit. No, it's doing it 100 times, 1,000 times. It's really where you improve. And now I actually have a valid reason to get on your ass with our member guests we got fastly approaching in July. I am going to be fucking whipping your golf game into shape. We are going to get you on a PIP, a player improvement program, and forget your kid, forget your wife. We're going to get your golf game dialed in this summer, and you are going to carry me for a change at your member guest.
I don't think I'm carrying anything.
Get that big back ready.
Get that big back ready. It's time to fucking saddle up.
Yep.
Any more personal notes? I have one, just that I'm very over how fucking cold it is here. I work with some people in Dallas and they made some things remote today because it was like 39 degrees and there was some ice. And I'm not downplaying how unsafe other drivers and just drivers in general are in a place where you don't get ice. So I'm not calling anyone out here, but they were sending like photos of the weather app and it was like 39 degrees. And I looked at mine just for funsies, -5 at that exact same time. So I wanted to be like, yeah, this is nothing, but I'm really extremely over it. I'm extremely over being cold everywhere I go. I went to go get Subway before this pod, which unfortunately I backed out. I crossed the street and then like 10 high school kids went into the Subway right before me, which really killed my vibe. I was like, I'm gonna have to go back after the pod. But I went over to get Subway and it was I was freezing cold within 5 minutes of walking outside, turning around, walking back across the street and going back to the office. Like my hands are still cold. I'm still like clutching them below me, but I'm just over how cold it is here. It's a disaster and I'm not a fan. It's supposed to be like 65 next Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So we're almost through this little patch of it, but I know at least 2 or 3 more are coming and I can't mentally I can't deal with it.
Yeah, no, we're kind of in the same boat out here currently. But the wind has been extremely bad. Like that is the worst fucking part. Because obviously out here with the humidity versus in Colorado, it's a little more dry. The wind just cuts different here. So the other day it was 25 and it said it felt like 11. And feeling like 11 feels even colder, in my opinion, when it was like 45-mile-an-hour winds. So it is just like cutting through anything you could possibly put on. And those are just days where I just say a prayer and thank God that I'm not a fucking worker that has to be outside. Like I see Amazon drivers driving around fucking in their what would you call those? The
truck.
Yes, in their truck, but they're wearing their overalls. There we go. Wearing like overalls and shit. And I'm like, thank God I can just run from the car to the apartment, run into the simulator from the car, basically just hustle anywhere. If you move slowly in this kind of weather, you're fucking built different, because I am just like walking at a pace that I normally do not at all times when it's this cold out. I'm like, get me the fuck out of here. And my walk every day from the apartment building over to the parking lot, I've mentioned it, but it's just a wind tunnel, and it legitimately has blown hats off of my head before. It is insane. And there's no sun obviously right there either, because it's being blocked by the apartment building. So it is like the coldest fucking spot. It's prevented me from going to the gym a few times when it's that cold. I'm like, I can't fucking walk through there. Or I'll just take Missy's car if it's a weekend and she's home. I'm like, I'm going to go down to the garage, hop in her car, because I am not walking across the street. And it's really, I've become soft. I mean, there's no surprise there. I wouldn't say I was ever really hardened, but we grew up with like our cars outside, not used to having them in a garage. But there's something I took so for granted when I owned my house and just hopped in my garage car every day. Compared to now, where I'm like, fuck, it's freezing and you're scraping your shit off. And garages really just are a thing that you take for granted when you don't have it, because it is so clutch when you do.
Yeah, not having to scrape a car is incredible stuff. Also, not having to start the car early, which we've been doing a fair amount of. And apparently one of our mom's friend's kids got their car stolen doing some puffing out front, which is quote unquote illegal. But my truck, Ben Duke, he got his car stolen.
Oh, no shit. Where
just at? Two dude, like he lives in like Centennial, and they just drove up to his fucking truck. And two dudes got in a car, driving around his neighborhood. They showed it on, it was like a Ring camera video. They just roll up to the car. One hops out, hops in the truck, gone. And luckily my truck it's annoying as fuck, but if you start it early and then just let it run, and you don't start it like with the keys in it being in the car, you just auto start it from the house. The second you open the door, it turns off, which is annoying when I'm trying to get in my car. I'm like, I wish it would just stay running. Now I have to restart my car. But overall, I think it's good fraud or fraud prevention, theft prevention overall. So shout out to the Toyota Tundra. All right, let's get into some golf topics here right after this. All right, Sunday Red. We gave our thoughts on it. We allowed everyone to hear how we felt about this sick brand, much in the Malbon realm of something that looks very similar to a cheap item and costs way more because it's got an exoskeleton, an Arc'teryx logo on it. But overall, it's Tiger's brand. It's going to do well no matter what. And you have the best marketing person, marketing agency, whatever you want to call Tiger, I guess person's the right word. I said that already. In the world, the best golfer of all time, the most popular golfer of this current generation, creates his own clothing company. Of course, it's going to do well. Well, they finally signed their first athlete. And if you haven't heard of this guy's name before, don't feel bad, because I haven't either until I saw this. Sunday Red's first athlete is former world #1 amateur Carl Phillips, who played at Stanford like Woods. The brand, which Woods started after leaving Nike, plans to build a full roster of players. And not that Carl Phillips isn't 10 times the golfer I am, much like this convo that you were having with your boy that was on the PGA Tour that you hated. But the way they released it and they had the silhouette of him swinging, a bunch of people were throwing out ideas of who it could possibly be. Even though it wasn't even close to the swing, a few people said Dustin Johnson just because of the timing that he was leaving Adidas and TaylorMade. It's not Dustin Johnson. Highly doubtful that it would be him getting onto Tiger Woods' clothing line, but a Stanford guy, which there's a lot of them just popping up. You got McNealy, you got Patrick Rogers, now you've got Carl Phillips, but I want to say he was competing in the Corn Ferry event in Colorado. I feel like I've seen the K, Carl, and then Phillips somewhere. I feel like that's not recognizable, but it's not like a random dude that I've legit never heard of. I just know he's not a higher level PGA Tour player.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I feel like he was maybe in contention a few, if not last year, maybe 2 years ago at the Corn Ferry Tour event in Colorado. So I will try to look that up real quick. But yeah, definitely. I do like the fact that he's a Stanford guy. Like maybe he gets Patrick Rogers in Sunday Red. Maybe he gets Mav McNealy in Sunday Red. But it just kind of a lackluster first signing. How do you spell this name? Is it with a V?
Karlvilips. Phillips.
Phillips. Okay.
Like Chauncey Phillips, but Carl Phillips.
Okay, so he's actually from Australia. Did not know that. Born in Indonesia, lived in Australia, now resides in Jacksonville, Florida, and went to college in California. Could you think of a crazier fucking different living places? Like that's insane. That was the worst possible way I could say that. The Ascent presented by Blue. This was last year's season. He finished T13 there. So he definitely played on the Corn Ferry Tour last year. That's probably where we saw his name. He won the Utah Championship last year, finished second at the NV5 Invitational by Old National Bank. So had a pretty good year last year. Let's see if he's only played the one season on the Corn Ferry Tour, and let's see if he's got any PGA Tour starts, because I did not see any for him this year.
Isn't it just crazy overall the fact that you're the best amateur golfer according to rankings in the entire world, and you don't just burst onto the scene and start winning PGA Tour events? I mean, it just cycles back to how good these players really are and how deep even with the players that went to the LIV Tour, all the players that are still on the PGA Tour and on the Corn Ferry Tour, you put them in a box with the Tiger Woods and the Scotty Schefflers and think they're not any good. And you realize, oh, this guy was the best amateur golfer on this planet. And he's struggling to make his way to be a guy that gets consistent PGA Tour starts. And I think there's a level of burnout there, and there's a level of expectations that you maybe can't reach when you become the world number one amateur. That you, like, if you're the world number 7 amateur, nobody really talks about you. When you're world number 1, everybody's like, oh, this guy's the next Tiger Woods or the next Scotty Scheffler, whatever you want to call it. And then it's a lot harder to continue that success all the way through the professional level, and then winning professional tournaments is another realm from that.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely levels to it, just like anything. But I mean, just to become, and I'm not saying just like it's easy, but just to become the world number 1 amateur, there's been plenty of those. So I wouldn't say even there, but there's definitely guys that get the brand of, or get the early touting for next PGA Tour star. And I wouldn't say that Phillips, at least as far as I know, like, I'm not that inside baseball, but I didn't think Phillips was touted as the next Tiger or anything like that. But I will say, like, Luke Clanton, for example, even then he missed the cut at the Phoenix Open. He needed to make it to get his PGA Tour card. He just played a tournament for Florida State this week, won by 3, shot 11 under for 3 days on a very tough golf course. And then he doesn't have an exemption in Mexico. I think he's got an exemption at the Cognizant the following week. But still, number one, how is this dude doing any school? Like, he can't even be going to class. Second of all, he's the kind of dude that we've seen compete on the PGA Tour. I just looked in Carl Phillips. He played in the U.S. Open in 2022 and missed the cut. So that's his only PGA Tour start. Where a guy like Lou Clanton, you've seen him compete on the PGA Tour. So you can kind of go apples to apples and see, like, this guy does have the game to come right out and compete. But even then, he's having it like, he's had a very successful amateur career on the PGA Tour so far. Don't get me wrong, but he's also struggling, quote unquote, to make cuts at a place like the Phoenix Open, where the golf course is not considered very hard by any means. So yeah, there's just so many levels to and it doesn't have to do anything with physical capability. It's all mental, feeling like you belong, things like that. So 4 to 5 crack. Oh, damn it. 4 to 5
That's
crackers.
Hilarious, actually.
I mean, I have counted the carbs on crackers. The water crackers that I eat, they're pretty low carb, relatively speaking, relative to a slice of like regular white bread. So I will say that I'm not just inhaling like the worst fucking crackers ever. But back to Phillips, it is kind of surprising to me that Sunday Red, this was like their first place to go. And maybe all these other guys already have brand deals with clothing companies, and maybe this following off season we see more deals done for them, but definitely not the big splash like Malbon going out and signing Jason Day. And also, like you said, with Tiger Woods backing this, how are they not getting more support? And I actually thought about this. I just realized I was thinking about this the other day. Does this mean that Nike is more important, kind of similar to like the Belichick Brady argument? Does the Nike Tiger Woods thing, it's like kind of the chicken and the egg. Do you think guys like wearing Nike more than they like wearing Tiger Woods? Because like Scotty Scheffler, for example, was like, yeah, I grew up wearing all of Tiger's gear. And now obviously Scotty's a pro and can wear whatever he wants, but he still wears Nike. It's not like he's going to wear Sunday Red. So do you think that guys are wearing, and there's plenty of other guys that wear Nike too, like Tony Finau, or is Finau still with Nike?
I think so. I think every time I imagine him in a black Nike hat. So
yeah. I mean, there's still plenty of guys out there that just wear Nike, and it's like, do they not want to go wear Tiger's things? So it just kind of, the question in my head was, is Tiger the moving force, or is Nike the moving force there?
Yeah, I think Tiger, between Nike has Jordan, Tiger, and I think they were the immovable object in the clothing business sports wise for so many years, that then Tiger just propelled them to an even different level than they were on. Because Jordan went off and got kind of his own brand. It was all still like, he was still very related to Nike, but then he has the Jordan brand, and now Tiger has his own brand. But I think at the same time, like, Tiger's older now. He still has the rapport with a lot of us that have watched him play, but there's a lot of kids getting into golf nowadays that are in their teens or, maybe early 20s by this point, that saw Tiger win one Masters in 2019, didn't realize the magnitude of that, but it just, in general, Tiger Woods is like an afterthought, and Scotty Scheffler is the guy now. Now, Scotty Scheffler is not the Nike. He is a Nike guy, but he's not the big, push Nike type of guy. He just plays golf. He's not a big advertiser, not in all these commercials, all that kind of stuff. But I think,
similar question then, if Jordan branched off and made his own brand, not associated with Nike, do you think guys would they go and wear Jordans, or would they still wear Nike? That's kind of the question I'm posing.
I think if you're in that specific instance, if you're a Jordan fan, you're going to break off and wear Jordans. Like Nikola Jokic getting his own shoe, the 361 Sport, which is a very it's for as big of a company and the athletes they have in Jokic and Aaron Gordon, when they ship their shit, it's very sketch. It's very like Temu scenario. But I only bought that stuff because of Nikola Jokic. Like I would have never bought a 361 shoe if they didn't have Nikola Jokic as an athlete. So I think when Jordan brought his own brand, I think everybody just synonymously like kind of forgot that he was a Nike guy and just turned him into a Jordan guy because he created his own brand with his own name. And, and then it just starts getting popular and everybody wants him. And then it snowballs from there.
Yeah, no, I get it, but it just a thought-provoking subject, I thought.
No, I feel you. Let's talk about the Creator Classic that's coming up here at TPC Sawgrass. You did send me one interesting tweet on Sawgrass and just how much it is. $750 is just, I don't know. I would pay that to play like an Augusta, but it also doesn't feel like if anybody can just play Sawgrass, it's almost like owning Malbon or whatever. It's a thing that you see somebody has and you're like, oh, they have money, but it's not necessarily like actually getting the experience of playing a golf course that's so private or so pristine. I'm not saying Sawgrass isn't, but when it's public and then costs that much, you're like, oh, well, who hasn't played Sawgrass that has any money? And then it kind of devalues it in my personal mind. But the Creator Classic full field is Wes and George Bryan, which I have to do an update on Wes Bryan, but I know they were trying to play Wes is trying to submit George as his partner for the Zurich. So that'll be cool to see brothers play in the Zurich. I would imagine that would be okay. Fat Perez, Gabby Golf Girl, Roger Steele, Grant Horvat, Tisha Allen, Kyle Berkshire, Chris Solomon from No Laying Up, and then a TBD Barstool Sports personality. So then they posted a picture of like their whole four-play crew and we're like, who do you think should get the vote to play in the Creator Classic? And a lot of people want Beef to play. I just think it'd be hilarious. Like him and Fat Perez in the same cart would not be able to fit. They would have to need multiple carts for that group if they played in the same group. But Creator Classic, as kind of salty as I am about the people not playing in it and considering it's not us, I mean, yeah, it's not. We get where we are. Like, I'm not saying we should be playing in the Creator Classic here. I get it, but I think it's overall a cool idea. And the amount of people that watch golf on YouTube and watch these like all these videos, for them, I think it's a good stepping stone to being able to watch them in a tour style. Like instead of a short video or 40 minutes of them playing a scramble or doing whatever the videos that they do on YouTube, they're actually watching them play golf. So I think it's a good bridge for the YouTube golf world to maybe convert those people into the TV golf world.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with the format whatsoever. I will say, so I never watched a Bob Does Sports video before, and they're funny dudes, but they did a Chicklets versus Bob Does Sports match, and I threw it on YouTube yesterday while we've discussed this, and it's not like I'm too cool for that type thing. I'm just not that into YouTube golf. And so I watched it, and it really, kind of didn't do much for me. It's more of that like 2 to 6 p.m. time if I'm able to like watch something and there's just nothing on TV, I'll throw that shit on. But if there's basketball or anything else, I'm definitely watching that over YouTube golf. But the Bob Does Sports guys, Joey Coldcuts, he just got on my nerves, dude. Like every single shot somebody hit, he would just yell, "Oh!" Even if it was terrible. No matter what, it was after every shot, "Oh!" And then fucking somebody'd hit a wedge to like 30 feet, and he's like, "That's a great shot. That's a great shot." And not saying it's not a decent shot, but just the constant like sucking each other off thing really fucking, I was like, dude, I cannot. And maybe that's why it's relatable for other people. And I'm not saying I'm an uppity asshole, but I'm not going to fucking give someone a tug for hitting a 100-yard wedge to 40 feet. Like that's just not the kind of golfer I am no matter what. So it was just very much like annoying to me when every single shot off the tee, "Oh!" I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like it kind of sent me. So I just had to throw that out there because I'd never watched really any of their videos. But Bobby Burger's hilarious. Fat Perez is funny. But I also then realized too where, you know, you see like the highlights of Fat Perez making these 40 footers and this and that. And then you watch him play a round of golf. And I'm not saying it was his best or worst round of golf ever, but he's definitely like not that great of a golfer. Like relatively speaking, he's probably like a legit, you know, 4 to 5, maybe somewhere in that ballpark. But he was not hitting it that great. And obviously they're playing a scramble too, so it's not like he's playing his own ball. But I think a lot of people get kind of bummed when they see dudes like this, for instance, like Fat Perez, or it'll be interesting to see what Kyle Berkshire shoots, because I think every YouTube golf fan just thinks that Kyle Berkshire is like the best golfer in the world that's somehow been shut out by the PGA Tour, and like somehow he makes more money doing something else. But if Berkshire throws out like 78, 80, I'm gonna be very disappointed. Let's put it that way. I would never go like comment on his videos and shit talk him. But if you legit, all you post is about hitting it 400 plus yards and you can't break par, more or less, you know, what would you say is respectable for Berkshire to be like, okay, he's a decent stick?
I think it'd have to be right around even par at Sawgrass, like depending upon what tees they're playing. But it doesn't matter, even if he's playing the long tees, he obviously has an advantage. But if they're playing the shorter tees and you can hit 4-iron as far as some of these other guys are hitting driver, there's just really no excuse for you to be much over par in my personal opinion.
I agree. And I think he's probably playing I would bet they're playing 6,500-ish yards or maybe a little bit less. Like there should be no problem whatsoever. Like he should turn that place into a pitch and putt. It's not like he's playing it from 7,700 yards. So that is going to be eye-opening. And then, you know, Grant Horvat will probably go throw out like a 77, 78. I don't know. It's just weird because these guys, you see all their highlights and everybody just loves to like think these dudes are so good. And then you see them actually go out and play 18 holes and you're like, oh, they're just, you know, they're decent golfers, but it's not somebody to aspire to be. You know, they're not PGA Tour players. Let's put it that way. It's like watching the N1 mixtape and being like, I want to be like the professor. Like that shit was dope. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have been the professor, but the professor never sniffed going to the NBA. So, you know, there's definitely, once again, levels to this shit. But if at the Creator Classic, they mic them up, let them bullshit, you know, they get their personalities involved, then, yeah, it seems like it would be a productive thing for the PGA Tour.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking on the PGA Tour and its rival tour, the LIV Tour, LIV Golf, if you will, LIV Golf CEO had an interesting comment here this past weekend at Adelaide. He said, "You don't have to look too far past our leaderboard to know that outside of the majors, if you want to see the best players in the world, there's only one place to do it, and that's at LIV." And quite the statement from him. I mean, he's the CEO of a company. You're always going to talk good about your company. But one thing I think is really important this year for a lot of the LIV players that are exempt into the majors, and we'll talk about Joaquin Niemann, because he's kind of the poster boy for this, where he wins a lot on LIV, and then it's a cycle of information. He wins on LIV. Everybody says he's good enough to be exempt for the majors. And like we said, and we reported, this sounds stupid, but that's kind of the word, as we reported, like LIV Golf will have multiple different exemptions into the US Open, the Open Championship. So some of these guys that aren't necessarily exempt for life, like the Rahms and Cam Smiths, are going to get into these events. But these guys need to play better in these events in order to have some real cred for the LIV Golf Tour, because we know that the LIV Golf Tour has the top end talent. It has the Rahms, it has the Cam Smiths, it has the Dustin Johnsons. When I say these guys, I mean top end in their career talent, not necessarily current playing form, but it's got former world number ones. It's got the high level players that have won Masters and US Opens and et cetera, et cetera. Bryson DeChambeau, can't leave him out. But when it gets to these middle guys where LIV is basically saying these guys deserve a shot in the majors, and people that love LIV are also saying the same thing, these guys deserve a shot in the majors, they have to start playing better in the majors in order to make it seem relevant. Now, it's going a certain way no matter what, and I think more LIV players will get in, and if they start getting world golf ranking points, that'll help too. But like Joaquin Niemann for me doesn't necessarily have to win a major, because we know a LIV player is going to win at least one major, whether it's the Bryson or whether it's Rahm. I feel like that's pretty consistently happened the last couple of years, or Brooks, the major hunter. But a guy like Joaquin Niemann has a lot to prove this year in terms of those players that are winning on the LIV tour and then can actually translate it to majors versus players that are already on the LIV tour and already established major winners also winning majors.
Yeah, I mean, I think Taylor Gooch is definitely in that same boat as well, where he's done nothing but lay goose eggs at majors, and then he wins multiple times on the LIV tour and talks about how good he is worldwide. And yeah, I mean, it's also tough too, because LIV has such a smaller sample size. Realistically, LIV has about a dozen guys that could possibly win a major, about 6 guys that have a real chance at winning a major. And then you look at the PGA Tour, and they've got probably at least a dozen, if not, 18 to 20 guys that have a real shot at winning a major, and then another 10 to 15 to 20 on top of that. So you can't really like shit talk the PGA Tour. Like, the LIV is fighting a losing battle here. LIV is an uphill kind of losing battle, because if they win majors, it's kind of like, well, that's what they should do. That's what they did before they went to LIV. But if none of the guys, like if Joaquin doesn't win a major, or Cam Smith doesn't win another, well, I guess Cam's not really in that boat. Taylor Gooch, those mid-level dudes, if they don't win a major, then they're like, see, we told you, like, you can't win a major if you've been on LIV, if you haven't already won a major. I don't know. It's just kind of a fucked scenario for them. But it sounds like, fingers crossed, in the near future, we could have a reculmination of the minds of the golfers, which, when that happens, I am just going to be, and I hope they, sorry to get a little off topic, but I hope they just release it all at once, because they're going to be like, an agreement has officially been come to, and then they're going to release zero information. And then what's it going to be? Another 6 months to 9 months. And then we're still not going to know what the schedule looks like. But either way, it sounds like we're very close to hopefully bringing this back together and not really having this conversation anymore. But who knows? We've been really close for a fucking year and a half, it feels like. So
yeah, and it will be interesting once we see what that agreement entails, of like, are players just allowed to immediately go back to the PGA Tour and try to start playing full time again? Or are they just allowed to play in the majors more frequently? Are there more exemptions for LIV Tour players to get into majors so that they can continue the lifestyle of playing on the LIV Tour, but in turn have the same eligibility or same requirements to make the majors like the PGA Tour players do, that are grinding out there and playing multiple weeks? Now, I think the PGA Tour players are going to be pissed off, and Adam Scott said just as much. And he's like, I hope they don't have to talk about it as much as I have, but somebody's got to talk about it in order for something to get done. And I think it is on the horizon pretty soon, but I'm going to be very curious to see what that entails and how that looks as a reintegration program, or if they just kind of have them as 2 tours still, because there's no denying whether or not you like the golf, whether or not you agree with the teams and the way they party after. I mean, our thumbnail of Joaquin Niemann doing a shoey after, I think Rahm did one too, even after falling out of the top 50 in the world rankings for the first time in like forever. They party years. and LIV golf is fun, but the actual golf and the players are still at the highest level in the world, but they're never going to get that love unless there's some sort of inner tour competition, or they're feeling that they're grinding it just as hard as the PGA Tour, which I don't think that's ever going to be the case, because the players went to LIV for the money. Don't get that twisted. But at the same time, they're working less and they're playing a lot less on the PGA or on the tour. They don't have to be committed every single week and flying across the country. And now TGL, I mean, you got Ludwig Aubert flying from California to Florida right after winning $4 million because he's committed in TGL. Like, yes, TGL, we've talked about it. It's pretty fun. And they had a couple of good fun matches the last couple of days. But overall, I can't imagine the players love having to fly, especially when on this California swing, then fly to Florida to play in the TGL on a Monday or Tuesday, and then either go back to their homes, which most of them do live in Florida, so maybe they're already doing it. But I can't imagine for all the players it's that easy of a transition every single week, especially if they're playing back-to-back weeks in 2 different states and then flying to Florida a day in between to go play in the TGL.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there.
Should we get to our WTF Wednesday, or did we have another topic that we missed?
Oh, the golf bag situation. What?
Oh yeah. Let's discuss.
Do you have the tweet that I sent you, or I can find it? Basically, it was a dude tweeting about how his buddy bought a Callaway golf bag and does not have a single Callaway golf club. What are your thoughts on buying a random bag? I'll give mine. Of course, I always have an opinion. I think it's a little
uppity. Question for you all. My buddy just got a ping bag. Not a fan, but whatever. Main question: he doesn't play any ping clubs, but has a ping bag. Is this allowable?
I think it's uppity to shit on that if like you don't play the brand. And I will say that ping was always a big thing when we were in high school, like the ping hoofer bag, kind of a legendary golf bag, especially if you're carrying a lot. We always got Sun Mountain bags, which realistically, I've never seen a Sun Mountain bag outside of our high school golf bags. So I don't really think those exist much anymore. I could be wrong, but they really don't. I don't think they make them anymore. But anywho, other than that, like if you buy a Callaway bag and you don't play Callaway, or you buy a Titleist bag or whatever, I really don't have a problem with it. But I could see if you're more in a dialed in environment, if you're a lower handicapper, then you are absolutely going to use the same brand as what you are used to. Like you're gonna, if you have Titleist clubs, you're gonna have a Titleist bag, so on and so forth. But for instance, like Pins and Aces, shout out Pins and Aces, use BDE, code BDE, 15% off. We both have the new Pins and Aces bag. Fucking awesome. They're basically like the Vessel. They're very nice bags. But in that case, then you just avoid the whole club thing because Pins and Aces doesn't make clubs. So if you buy a brand of bag that's not a club manufacturer, then you don't run into that issue whatsoever.
Yeah, it's much easier to do that when you don't have a brand that you have to be loyal to in terms of the bag, and then you can just rock a cool bag and not have the same clubs, and that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our WTF Wednesday. Let's do it. You start us off.
Okay, I will start it out with the bone I have to pick over the gym scenario that I've been dealing with. And it is a tale as old as time. The biggest dudes at the gym kind of run the gym, the big muscle heads. You kind of look out for them. They kind of go where they want, do what they want. It's just kind of an unspoken rule. Like, I don't think I run the gym whatsoever. I'm just there to do some cardio, do some weights, get out of there. I'm not like hanging out, bullshitting with people, making friends like a lot of those guys do. So I'm not in that area whatsoever. But I've noticed a lot of dudes there's about 8 benches that you can like grab free weights and do bench or do any sort of press, whatever. And I just grab one when it's open. It's kind of a congested area, I'd say, with around the weights, it's in front of the mirror, all that. And I'll grab a bench and then I'll look over at the dude next to me, and they're obviously working out. But then there's just times where they're just flexing, like making poses in the mirror for minutes at a time. Not a single weight in their hands, not fucking doing anything. They're just like flexing their triceps and then flexing their biceps and like looking at themselves. And I'm like, you're using equipment that somebody else could be using right now because you just want to stare at yourself. And I'm not going to be the guy that tells them to fuck off, but I feel like there's got to be another big guy that like looks at them and comes over and is like, dude, this isn't a place. Don't you own a mirror at home? Like, go fucking home and stare at yourself in the mirror. So that is one of my big gripes about the gym is just the muscle heads that come in there and think they can just do whatever they want whenever they want type of shit. And it just bugs me. Like, I pay for a membership just like you pay for a membership. So we just got a comment. Funny story. I have zero clue what brand my bag is, and I have about 4 different brands of clubs because of hand-me-downs. Exactly. Like, nobody really gives that much of a shit what brand your golf bag is. You got to be pretty, like, you got to take yourself pretty seriously to really care what brand of golf bag you have. We're in a different scenario where we've been given golf bags and we generally don't pay for them, not to sound cool, but we're just been in the industry and have hookups. So, but yeah, if you really are worried about like paying for it, if you're picking out a golf bag and really that worried about it, then sure, get your own brand. But otherwise, nobody's looking at you and saying, I don't like you because you have Callaway clubs, or I think you're a phony because you have Callaway clubs in a ping bag. Like, nobody really gives a shit.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that goes down to like comfortability of the bag specifically. I personally wouldn't like having all PXG clubs. I would have either a PXG bag or a non-club brand golf bag that I liked, as long as it's comfortable and depends upon, a lot of people have the pockets scenario or they want 15 toppers. There's a lot of, from selling golf bags to members for a long time, you notice how much people really care about all the little things. I'm just like, dude, give me a bag that looks kind of cool and I'll figure the rest out, and I'll put this in this pocket or whatever. It is nice to have a few little things that golf bags have nowadays, but I personally wouldn't I wouldn't go out and seek a bag of a brand that also has clubs I don't have. I don't think I would seek that out, but to me, it's not like anybody that's out playing golf, doesn't really matter what kind of clubs you have or what kind of bag you have. As long as you're out there playing, that's the key. I'll get to my WTF Wednesday. So this has to do with the subway that I'm about to go to right when we finish this pod. It's a very sketchy subway right by my work here in Denver. And last time I went there, so 2 times ago, I don't know if I told you this or not. I told the guy I wanted a cold cut combo, and he asked me what was on it. Did I tell that story already?
That's hilarious.
Okay. Well, parlaying that into last week, I go in there and this nice lady, me and her in there, I order, and she goes, hold on one moment. She pulls her phone out, puts a translator on, and puts it up to my face to translate what I'm saying to what she can speak and fucking make the sandwich. I was like, dude, mad respect that you are able, like, working a job that of the language of 90% of the people that you can't even speak. Like, you're out here grinding, making some money. Like, more power to you. And I'm not an asshole. I was more just like shocked by it.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I'm not an asshole. I'm sure there's some people that would just like absolutely have nothing to do with that. They would be so pissed off. But then it wasn't actually that bad until I get over to the topping side of it and I say olives and she gives me onions. And I'm like, oh no, like this is like, I wasn't going to correct her. I just pointed to the black. I said black olives the next time. And I just started pointing to the things, made it a little easier. Got out of there semi unscathed on the sandwich, but I did have to pick the onions off because I'm not an onions guy. Now, I am an onions guy, but to me, I'm an onions guy on like a hot sandwich, like a burger, versus like a cold sandwich, like the cold cut combo fucking elite sandwich from Subway.
The coldest of cuts.
The coldest of cuts, the elitist of combos.
See, that's where I don't think there's that many like AI things or like Siri things that would help that much. But if you were thinking on your feet at that point, you could have been like, Siri, translate all and name all your toppings, and then it come out into words, and then I would show her that. Like, that would kind of be advantageous because there is some translations. Have you seen the new phone? It's like it's like a flip phone, but it's not a phone, like not a flip phone. Maybe it's the new Razor that when you open it up, it kind of looks like an iPhone, but you can like close it. Anywho, I've seen where you can translate and you speak into one side of it, and then the screen on the other side shows what you're saying to somebody else in their language. Like, that would come in handy overseas, anything like that, whenever you're traveling or at your local Subway. You never know when you're going to need a fucking translation. Because, yeah, if I got the wrong toppings on my sandwich, the fact that you're so loyal to this place, you're like and I hate to joke about this, but you're in a bad relationship with a man. You're a woman in a bad relationship with a man that just can't walk away. And when they do the bare minimum, you are like, you praise them and you're like shocked by it. Well, there's a perfectly good man across the street in Jimmy John's. He's got a stable job. You kind of know what you're getting. Maybe it's not your favorite thing in the world, but it's good enough. It gets the job done. I think you need to make the move from Subway to Jimmy John's, because that place stressed me the fuck out. And I'm very much a person of efficiency. Jimmy John's on the same side of the street. Like, you only have to cross one crosswalk. I would go there strictly just because it's that much easier rather than waiting for two separate crosswalks. Like, the fact you're putting your foot in the ground, you walked halfway to Subway, you're like, it's not happening. You walk back and you're still going back is absolute blasphemy to me. Like, the fact you didn't just go to Jimmy John's at that point or go do anything else. It's just, you have some sort of sick fucking deal going on that needs to be, you need to be, hypnotized. You need to be hypnotized.
Do I need to have an intervention regarding this?
Have a Subway fucking intervention, dude, because eventually you're going to get some sort of like disease from their lettuce. You're going to get some sort of stomach deal. And I think it's going to turn you once and for all.
Dude, I think ironically, the more I tell people about my Subway addiction and the more they hate on it and tell me how fucking rot gut shit it is and bottom of the barrel, it makes me want to go there more because of how fucking much I like it.
See, that's similar to the relationship scenario I just brought up with you. Like, my friends fucking can't stand him, and that just makes me want to stay with him even more. It doesn't make, like, all my friends tell me is how I could do so much better. And I don't know, you're trapped in some fucking mindset of mediocrity that you're stuck with. Like, let me ask you this. Is that Subway's bread ever fresh? Like, do you ever walk in there and they got some like good looking bread on the table, or is that shit just like flaking off at all times?
The one I had the other day was rough, and I ordered flatbread and she gave me wheat and I didn't say anything, but
oh my God,
bad.
Dude. You're playing fucking roulette with your sandwich every time you walk in there. You could walk out with a fucking chicken teriyaki. You could walk out with a tuna sandwich. That is just absurd to me that you keep subjecting yourself to that. Like, I guess you are a Rockies fan, and the Rockies are basically Subway. When they're just the fucking bottom of the barrel, the lowest expectation possible, and even then they sometimes can't even fucking meet those expectations. So you've got some sort of sick fucking twisted brain thing going on that needs to be solved somehow.
Yeah, well, it's not getting solved today. Before we get out of here, I want to show you guys our picks for this week at the Mexico Open. I'm going with Patrick Rodgers at plus 2,200 to win it. Plus 2,200 is what Ludwig Aubert is. Patrick Rodgers has been playing really good. Should have won probably last week. Thank God he didn't. I'm going to back it up this week with some P-Raj. He finished top 5 here last year at the Mexico Open. And then Isaiah Salinda, I'm going plus 400 to top 20 and plus 12,000 to win. I had some info here. I heard he's been playing some good golf. He's got the course record at an unnamed golf course. I don't want to give away my sources here. Said he's like got a very Tiger mentality on the golf course. So if this hits, all credit to me and my source. But Isaiah Salinda plus 400 to top 20 and Isaiah Salinda plus 12,000 to win the event. Mitchell, as you can see on the right there, if you're watching this on the YouTube, due to an ungodly cold streak, Mitchell is taking the week off of gambling. So no picks from Big Drive Mitch this week, just me. We'll see what we can cook up and if we can get another winner here on the card.
I do. So I don't have any official picks on the card. Obviously, I've taken a step away from the table. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide a few chips over to you. It's just verbal. This is your money now. Aldrich Potgieter.
I liked that one.
The thick South African boy. Verbal's binding. Potgieter, whatever. Potato. Plus 6,000. Could be another Jake Knapp scenario. and Poggeiter is one of the longest guys on tour, which Jake Knapp was last year. Great Bombers golf course, plus 6,000. I am going to bet on that. I'm going to
watching the highlights from Jake Knapp last year at this tournament. His swing is so fucking good. You look at the swing speed and it looks like about 87 and it's like 125. You're like, what the fuck, dude?
I'm just trying so hard, like swinging out of my shoes, getting 105 miles an hour. I'm like, what the fuck is my deal? Like, this dude is just smoothing it out there 320, and I'm borderline breaking blood vessels in my fucking face, hitting it 260. It's just not ideal for your guy over here. But dude, Poggeiter's, I think, longer than Knapp. I think he's even fucking longer. So this could be a great breakout week. And these are kind of fun to bet on too. I'm honestly kind of jealous that I'm not on the card. Obviously, I'd be throwing out a couple of fucking losers, but it's just one of those weeks where it is so wide open that you could see a guy plus 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15,000 win it. And that's just kind of the electric part of it. It's literally a fucking crapshoot. So, and real quick, I want to mention this. I feel like PGA Tour players are kind of getting a little fucking NBA in them all of a sudden. Like, you play one hard game and all of a sudden, oh, I'm withdrawing next week. Like Maverick McNealy, you finished second. You have one PGA Tour win in your career. Are you above the Mexico Open? Like, I know you just cashed over a $2 million check, didn't even win. But these guys are just withdrawing, dropping like flies. Is this load management? Like, maybe these players are trying to convince the PGA Tour that they play too many events by doing this, which I can respect because it is a lot of golf. But it just doesn't seem very gritty of them. It doesn't seem very locker room guy of them. They really don't give a fuck. Like, if they have enough money or whatever, they want to skip an event, they're just like, fuck it. At least he didn't withdraw Wednesday afternoon, so somebody has the chance to get down there. Yes, exactly. Jesus, Mitch, you're like Chris Bryant. No, I'm not going to play right now. Correct. I hope Chris Bryant never plays another fucking baseball game in his life. The Rockies still owe him, $120 million or fucking something disgusting. But no, Verbal's binding. Aldrich plus 6,000. I'm sprinkling, and he's plus 500 top 10. I feel pretty good about that pick. Not on the card though. So if you take it and it doesn't hit, never happened. But if you take it and it does hit, fucking give me something. Throw me a bone.
We got Mitch, all the credit to you and no credit to Feliz.
No blame.
All right. Yeah, no blame, all credit, just like this podcast. We appreciate you all tuning in to Big Drive Energy Wednesday. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the Mexico Open 4 Nations final tomorrow night. Should be electric, USA and Canada. We're slowly creeping out of the worst week of sports of the year. We're back. The NBA is back from their All-Star break. NHL will be back from 4 Nations, but it's been electric. We got the Mexico Open. Who could have forget about the Mexico Open, and March Madness right around the corner. So enjoy your weekend. Hopefully you're staying warm wherever you're at in America. Hopefully it's nice for you, because it is not for us here. We'll take that one on the chin for now. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday. Peace.